have a good time. Turn the music up. Yeah. That's how we gonna do this tonight. Check it. Dance. Everybody down with us. Just dance. Wanna feel the groove and clap your hands. They ask who's blessed tonight. I am.
Kia ora te whānau. Why is Sissy dancing around in her living room to a background of Professor Philip Joseph, who is regarded as one of our country's leading scholars in public law? Well, let me tell you what happened tonight. While I was at the gym, this reply brief of evidence of Professor Philip Joseph, King's Counsel, that's what the KC stands for, means he's a fancy-ass lawyer, was filed. This is the same Philip Joseph who is the author of Constitutional and Administrative Law in New Zealand, which is the leading constitutional law text that every law student in Aotearoa has to study when we're learning about constitutional law. And let me tell you what he had to say. Now, what he's talking about here is the recommendations that the Waitangi Tribunal made when it first inquired into the treaty review and made some recommendations for how the Crown should proceed and what Minister Goldsmith did after that. What Professor Joseph says is, the Minister preemptorily dismissed the Tribunal's findings and recommendations. As the Crown's alter ego, the Minister acted in breach of the Crown's treaty obligations, the concept of the honour of the Crown, and the common law requirements of due process, fairness, and consultation. But wait, it gets better. The Minister engaged in a decision-making process when he sought Cabinet's endorsement of the government review and summarily dismissed the Tribunal's findings and recommendations. The Minister was not legally obliged to accept the findings or act on the recommendations, but he could not summarily dismiss them and refuse to engage with the Tribunal's report, which is exactly what he did. Now stay with me, Tifana, because this is where it starts getting good. The concept of the honour of the Crown is an established principle of the treaty. This concept applies with respect to all of the Crown's dealings with its treaty partner. The Crown breaches this concept when it summarily dismisses tribunal findings of Crown breaches of the treaty and flouts its recommendations to avoid or ameliorate such breaches. In dismissing the tribunal's findings and recommendations, the Minister's actions place the Crown in breach of its treaty obligations. Now, I want you all to pay close attention to this last wonderful, beautiful paragraph, because what the professor is doing here is putting Minister Goldsmith on notice that what he's done might well be illegal and that the courts might entertain a challenge. And coming from literally the dude who wrote the book on constitutional law, that's basically like a green light if you want to sue the minister. So what he says is, the courts might entertain a challenge to the minister's refusal to address the tribunal's concerns. The treaty is the bedrock of New Zealand's constitutional framework, and the tribunal was established to monitor the Crown's compliance with its principles. It is an affront for the minister to rebuff the tribunal's constitutional duty to investigate and report on claims of treaty breaches. A challenge might be brought in the High Court that the minister's actions were an abuse of executive power and process in breach of the Crown's common law obligation to act honourably, be it towards its treaty partner or the tribunal. I just want to say a big mahi to Professor Joseph because he's a gangster.